Hello everyone, it is Darkseeker here again. Welcome back for another video. Now, before we get to today's deck, I would like you to take a moment to step back and to relax your mind. Forget about everything and anything that may be troubling you, and focus on the trees. Watch them as they sway in the wind. Trees that are so strong and so solid, trees that are so old. Trees that are standing for centuries as their branches strengthen over time, and as they grow, they reach for the sky. Trees that are responsible for life. Trees are the biggest plants on the planet. They give us oxygen. They stabilize the environment and the air. They are givers of life. But what about a tree of life in Hearthstone? How about playing a tree of life in your Hearthstone deck? Today we are indeed playing Tree of Life in this Jade Mill Druid. Jade Idols in 2022, yeah. Big Green Men in 2022, perhaps. Primarily, this is a mill deck. Solar Eclipse and Due Process are your big combo to start the milling, and eventually your opponent runs out of cards, goes into fatigue. And as a last resort, Big Green Men may come into the picture to win the game. The strategy recommended by the deck author is to draw 6 Jade Idols each turn in the endgame. You can then shuffle 2 back into the deck and summon 4 Jade Golems. This deck can make big priests concede, which is amazing. So let's have a look at the deck in action, a selection of very satisfying games on the Wild Mode ladder. So we are starting out against a priest, and unfortunately I seem to be facing far too many big priests at this low rank on the ladder. It is one big priest after another, and that tends to frustrate me a lot. They manage to play Illuminate very early, like this priest is doing now. They get their discounts, and then they summon their big minions, and there is absolutely nothing that you can often do. So at that point, I usually go and play Standard Mode out of frustration, or I go play Battlegrounds. I'm really enjoying Battlegrounds currently. And I play far more Battlegrounds than I do the ladder, or on Wild Mode, or Standard. Now, in our hand, we have our combo. And I call it a combo. It's very straightforward, it's just 2 cards. It's Solar Eclipse and Due Process. So Due Process, for the rest of the game, players draw an extra card at the start of their turn. Combine that with Solar Eclipse, you are essentially activating that twice, or casting it twice. So once we go off with this, we have to be careful. We will start eventually milling our opponent, particularly if it's Big Priest and their cards are expensive for the most part. But we will also possibly start milling ourselves, and you could look at that as being problematic. But we have Jade Idol, and as long as we can then start casting Jade Idols, shuffling them into the deck, then we're okay. So here we go. It is time now to draw some cards and to see what happens. And I guess the idea is to try and keep my hand as empty as possible to avoid milling ourselves. Our opponent is smart, Spirit Lash, sure. Ooh, another oh gosh, Solar Eclipse, Due Process again. Do we do it? I think we do. Ah. And I'm just gonna play the coin. Why not?
My hand is too full.
Okay, 2 cards milled. Not the best cards to mill. Another Illuminate. potentially quite annoying. But they have not managed to get a big threat onto the board yet. There's Tree of Life. So we don't mill that. But do you know what I'm worried about milling? Jade Idol. That's what I'm concerned about. So have I gone about this the wrong way in terms of my strategy for playing this deck? Should I have waited a bit longer before going off with due process? Should I have found my Jade Idols first? So now we're in a bit of a dilemma, because we are going to be milling cards, and I think I played the wrong Jade Blossom there. If I'd played the other Jade Blossom, I wouldn't have drawn that other Jade Blossom. Oh, but it doesn't matter. They're screwed anyway. Alright, so we're getting our heads around this deck somewhat. It's not easy to pilot, but it's a lot of fun to say the least.
Victory for the Forsaken.
Nature seeks balance in all things.
Okay, a hunter is refreshing, definitely. It's not a priest. However, I do wonder about what kind of hunter we're facing and how that's going to impact my playstyle. So the priest was quite slow in the earlier game. I imagine this hunter is going to be a little bit faster on the board. And one thing that worries me about this deck... Oh, there's a Jade Idol. That's what we were looking for in the last game. One thing that worries me is the ability of the opponent to just snowball on the board with aggressive minions and to just kill you before you can start milling them. If they're playing an aggressive deck with cheap minions or cheap spells, then they can probably empty their hand quite quickly. Now you have some survival tools in the deck. There is Armageddon, Ferocious Howl, Branching Paths. However, is that going to be enough in a meta that can sometimes be quite aggressive? I think that's the question. Now, this is pretty nice. Our 1-1 can kill the 3-1. Oh, wait. Okay, they're making the trade for me. Thank you very much. That's pretty good. Okay. Ramping is key. We're going to have 10 mana next turn. Which will be double that of our opponent. But we are missing Guff. And Guff is important in this deck because Guff allows you to ramp up significantly. Then you have, up to 20 mana available. You can play lots of cards on a single turn. And that keeps your hand, as empty as possible. So you're not milling yourself. But we are in a lot of trouble here. That's quite a significant board. So I think we have to go about clearing it as best as we can. So we're not comboing due process with solar eclipse. There's the solar eclipse. Okay. And just to use up my mana, it was floating 1 mana there.
You better watch your step.
Should I have shuffled the Jade Idol into my deck? Get 3 of them in there, freeze up my hand a little bit more, make some more room for when I play Solar Eclipse and Due Process. Okay, our health total suffering somewhat. I am not going to attack face, because that could be an explosive trap. I'm also conscious of what these, well, what the second secret could be. So armor gain here, I think, is important. Even if we go off with due process and solar eclipse, we have a ways to go before we mill them to death, right? So our health total is going to suffer. So we need that armor to stay alive. Part of me worries about Rat Trap or something equivalent, right? I know that both of those secrets came from Tavish. So is there a Tavish secret equivalent to Rat Trap? Because the Tavish secrets are the upgraded ones, right? So I'm assuming they've picked explosive. So to get the upgraded explosive trap. Oh dear, that's a huffer, and that's going face. Tree of Life. That's going to buy me some time. Right, let's gain the most armor that we can here. So branching paths, I think, is the way to go, rather than Ferocious Howl. And again, we're not going face. We are just going to chill. We're going to just bide our time. The armor has bought us a little bit more time. And I think what you can do with this deck is get to a point where your opponent has a full board. And you're just armoring up, playing Tree of Life, you're tanking all that damage. Meanwhile, they are board locked. And they can't play anything else on the board. So, of course, their hand just gets full and then they start milling themselves and they die. That's another way forward here. But regardless of that, there is going to be a lot of damage sitting on the board that I'm not able to remove. So we could just die to the damage on the board. So let us accelerate the mill process. Gaining a little bit more armor here. Maybe I should have played Aquatic Form and shuffled the Jade Idol. Just keep my hand a bit more free. I don't know if I'm doing this correctly. Oh, Dark Moon Tonk. Okay. So we really do not want them to have room on the board to be playing some of these high value minions in their hand. And then I imagine with the Tonk, they would trigger a Death Rattle, right? They'd play Dead. Oh, there's a Play Dead. Second copy of Play Dead. Alright. Ferocious Howl. Very nice. Fine to mill the Nourish. Don't care. I just want the armor gain here. Tree of Life, I don't think it's the right time to play it. Because we're at 14, excluding armor. We don't want to draw cards. We want to ramp. Okay, that's important. And I'm kind of not thinking things through here. I am just pressing buttons and thinking to myself, how do I use up my mana? How do I free up a bit of space? And I don't think I'm doing a very good job of it right now. I don't know, this just feels all wrong. But shuffling Jade Idols is definitely a good thing here. For sure. Okay. Maybe I should have played the Innovate and then shuffled another idol just to make more room. But there comes a point where if you start milling Jade Idols, does it really matter if you've got enough of them in your deck? Oh, we just milled 3 of them. Okay. I kind of underestimated how many cards I was going to be milling. Alright. Tree of Life. And we're only healing our opponent for a very small amount, because that's something you need to be conscious of. If they've been taking fatigue damage, and then you play Tree of Life and you just heal them to full health, well, that's not good, is it? So we just keep up with the shuffling. And there's the fatigue. Alright. The question is, all of this damage on the board, are we going to kill them before the minions kill us? Will the fatigue win out here? Are we dead next turn? Oh, wait a minute. So would they have died next turn to fatigue? I assume so, otherwise they wouldn't have conceded. What an interesting game that was.
Nature seeks balance in all things.
Alright, it's time for a Shaman. This should be fun.
I see you.
Oh, Runetotem. Okay, so this is more than likely a Shadow Walk deck. What an interesting test it will be for our deck then. So far we've beat a Big Priest, we've beat a Hunter, and now it's the Shaman. This is a really, really great start for us. In terms of ramp, we've got the Overgrowth into the Nourish. Oh, this is definitely going to be a Shadow Walk Shaman. Those of you that have followed my channel for a while will know that Shadow Walk decks are my favourite decks to play. I think I've got a playlist on my channel that now has over, I think it's 50 videos in it. Just on Shadow Walk decks alone. So I think that illustrates my obsession with the Shadow Walk. I don't know if you'd call that a healthy obsession or an unhealthy obsession. Anyway, I'm actually going to draw cards here. I just want some more options. There's Guff. Okay, brilliant. And I think drawing cards there was okay, because we're not in a position to play Due Process yet. We have Solar Eclipse, but we've not drawn the Due Process. Ah, no minions in hand. What a surprise. So, yeah, drawing the cards gave me options. You know, I have the Guff, I have a way to clear board, or partially clear the board, I think. I want to get the 7 whelps on the board, so... So I don't think it mattered what I traded into. And again, would you ever shuffle here? Would you ever use this 1 mana that you're floating to shuffle a Jade Idol into the deck, just to get 3 in the deck? Lessens your hand size, get some idols in the deck? Or are you just having to wait until the late game before shuffling? This is something I need to reconcile in my brain. It feels wrong to me floating 1 mana. That's all it is. Just feels wrong.
Nature waits for no one but me.
Dirty Rat doesn't hit anything. Our opponent is probably quite confused at this point. Alright. Here's Guff. And we can just ramp, right? Or do we go with the combo? Solar Eclipse due process here. Just thinking about my hand size. I think this is fine. I think we just get it going. And maybe with a deck like the Shadowhawk Shaman, it's important to get this going early. Because they're going to have expensive cards that they can't play. Hopefully clog up their hand. And then hopefully they start milling. So that's my line of thinking there. Don't know if it's correct.
I see.
Oh no, I see you. Says Lothar. So it was a good thing that we did what we did. All of our spells are now more expensive. And they can probably just repeat the Lothar battle cry if they've got a bird in hand. So that would have been really annoying for us, I think. In terms of playing Solar Eclipse due process. Although, would it have been so bad? Because we're just ramping up anyway with Guff. So, I guess we'd still be able to play both of those spells, but it would have been frustrating. So, yeah. There's the bird. Yeah, as predicted. The key thing is, we are milling them soon. It's going to happen. And we've got that process underway. Okay, that's the key thing. Theotar, what are they going to give us, and what are we going to lose? This is interesting. Ooh, we got Toxfin. And they got the scale. Okay. That's slightly annoying, because I was potentially going to use that to clear up some of this board, but okay. Goodbye, Solar Eclipse. This Lothar battle cry has really hurt us here, I think. It's negating our Guff ramp value. And we're finding ourselves in a similar situation to the previous game. There is a big board, and I can't really clear it, and I'm absorbing all of this damage. I have armor, though, to keep surviving, but can I survive for long enough for them to take the damage from fatigue or from being milled, and for that to kill them? Can we survive? Ferocious Howl is in hand. Oh no, we've just lost the other Ferocious Howl. Okay. Tree of Life! Thank you! Alright. I probably should have played Moonlit Guidance, actually, to find the Tree of Life. Because then I get a copy of it. Because then I could play it twice. That was a mistake on my part. Yeah, that was a mistake. This is what happens when you don't know the cards in your deck very well and what they do. You make silly errors.
This must be the way.
I'm not dead on board. So we can just keep going here. And I'll just play that. I think one of the important things here is not to kill off any of their minions on board. So by playing the top spin, it's inconsequential. They can't trade a minion into it and kill off one of their minions, so they're board locked. And that means they can't play stuff out of their hand, and there could be some minions in hand that are going to be annoying for me to deal with. Oh wow! Plague of Murlocs! They were looking for a charging Murloc. Huh. And they didn't get it, but now they've got space on the board, so they can play one thing from hand onto the board. Is there a Battlecry minion that could annoy me here? Something similar to a Lotheb. Oh no, a bird. Theater! Oh wait! Did I just get what I think I got? I got Denathrius. Huh. Well, thank you very much. That could help me at some point. So, there is a lot of damage on the board. Tree of Life will heal me up to full health. But do you know what this is now going to come down to? I think this is going to come down to big green men. We have to do this. And I think we have to summon them. These Murlocs are small enough that medium-sized big green men will pose a threat. And why not? I'm just playing stuff to empty my hand. Why not? Grumble. Shadowwalk. Okay, so I was worried that by having space on the board, our opponent could play something from hand that would really annoy us. The Shadowwalk, with those Lotheb battle cries stored up, is possibly something that could have annoyed us. But now we don't have to worry about it. Shadowwalk and Grumble are gone. So now our opponent is left with whatever's in hand and whatever's in the rest of their deck. I should know Shadowwalk decks inside out. So is there anything else that I need to worry about? They lost their Snowfall Guardian, but they probably play 2. Because there are duplicate copies of cards in this deck. They play 2 copies of Ice Fishing. This is not a Reno deck. So, what do we have to worry about? And how do we proceed? I guess we would value trade with our Jade Golems. And then shuffle and play, shuffle and play. We have the Guff Hero Power to draw, which is excellent. A situation where I'm happy to draw, because my hand is not full. But I'm going to play Denathrius, because it's Denathrius. And this is really cool. I have a feeling that my opponent has rage quit. So I don't think it really matters what I do now from this point on. This is great fun. If you've followed my channel for more than a couple of years, then you'll know that I was a big fan of Jade Druid. Jade Druid was one of my favourite decks in the game. And I managed to get Legend with it, I don't know, what, 4 or 5 times? Yeah, away they go. So this has been my excuse to play Jade Druid in the year 2022 and summon some medium-sized green men. Alright, that has worked out far better than I expected, and so a massive thank you to Collisto, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, for this glorious deck. To think that I was able to win streak with this deck, yes at a low rank on the wild mode ladder, but still, to say that I can win streak with this deck, having faced a Big Priest, a Hunter, and a Runetotem Shadowwalk Shaman, those are three significant decks, to say the least, and to beat them and to win streak, I think is a big deal. What you didn't see in this video is that prior to those 3 games, I'd beat another Big Priest, and that was great fun too. So if the Big Priest cannot get any of their big threats onto the board very early, you can just mill them and hopefully win. That seems to be the strategy. Where this deck can struggle is an overly aggressive opponent, as I have found, that can fill a board very quickly, go face, and yes, you can gain some armor, but if your armor is not enough to keep up with the pace of their aggression, then you can just die, and that has happened to me a couple of times. But overall, my win rate with this deck, at low ranks, I should emphasize again, is very, very positive. So I'm 4-2 with this deck. So not bad at all. Now how this holds up at higher ranks remains to be seen. But I've had my fun, and thank you very much to the deck author for giving me that fun and for making my weekend. It really is appreciated. So, thank you very much for joining me, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you all again very soon for more wild mode fun. But until next time, please stay safe, please look after yourselves, and as always, please be good to one another.